Hey, my polished beauties. Today's video is going to be a little different. I always talk a lot in my videos, but this time it's going to be intentional talking. And actually, I'd like to turn this into a whole new series. You know how nail salons often feel like therapy sessions? That's the vibe I'm going for here. Recently, I've been diving back into reading books, watching movies, listening to podcasts, and they always spark thoughts, memories, and personal experiences for me. Sometimes even stories from people I know. And I thought, why not share them with you? This series is all about opening up, reflecting, and maybe even oversharing just a little in the best way. These sessions might get personal, and honestly, I hope they do. If you ever feel like sharing something of your own, you can drop it in the comments, or if it's more private, send it to me by email. If I share your story here, I'll always do it on a first person basis, so it feels like our confession, not just yours. Think of this as storytelling mixed with nails, mixed with life lessons, laughs, and maybe even therapy. So, with that, welcome to the very first episode of Polished Confessions. I'll title this episode after a book I recently read, The Art of Letting Go by Nick Trenton. I want to share how reading this book really shifted my perspective and inspired me to start the series. Here's what this book taught me and how it made me pause, reflect, and most importantly, let go. Number one, becoming aware. Trenton begins by showing us how much of our suffering comes from overthinking and silent looping thoughts. He invites us to watch our thoughts without judgment and realize we don't have to believe everyone. Mindfulness isn't just meditation, it's noticing when we are spiraling and choosing not to follow. Now, this resonated so much with me because I have been diagnosed more than once with depression. The first time I was diagnosed, it was mild depression, and the second time, I remember I was told that I was a functioning depressed person. Well, life can hit you sideways sometimes, and if you dwell too much in how life hit you, then you're bound to be depressed. And I'm not downplaying depression, and I also don't like using the word depression because it is strong and it has strong implications, and I don't like using it lightly, but this is my truth, right? So I realized that most of the times when I was going through a lot and I felt at my lowest, my thoughts were always in the low vibrational side of things. And as hard as it is to do and easy to say, I had to get myself out of that kind of thinking. Like I said, it's easier said than done, but it is what I had to do as soon as I became aware. Now, number two, acceptance is power. Letting go isn't giving up. It's seeing that some things aren't ours to control, whether it's past mistakes, relationships that changed, or expectations that no longer serve us. Acceptance is freeing. Trenton's message: you can hold peace even when life isn't how you'd hope. And this is one powerful thing that I had to do after becoming aware of my thoughts and how my thoughts made me feel. I had to accept things that I did not have control over. I had to accept that I can only control so much, and with that, I should just focus on what I can control, what I can change, and do so to make myself feel better, because why would you not want to change for the better, right? Life's too short to be living in misery. And like I said, once again, it's easier said than done, but I had to try it for myself. And as hard as it was the first few times, it just got better with time. I had to think to myself when something made me feel uncomfortable or uneasy or anything on the low vibrational side, I had to ask myself if I could control that particular thing. And if I could, then there was nothing to worry about, because then I can just control that and change it. But if I couldn't, once again, there was nothing to worry about, because then I should just accept it and focus on what I can control. And this reminds me of a picture that I once saw years ago. I'm gonna search it, and if I find it, I'm gonna put it up on screen, which speaks to what I am saying currently. Now, number three, silencing the inner critic with compassion. We often treat ourselves worse than we treat a friend. Trenton gently reminds us self-compassion isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. When mistakes happen, respond with kindness instead of shame. Whisper, "You're doing your best," instead of why did I mess up again? And once again, this also resonated so much with me because I have realized how much grace I've given to other people who have treated me worse than I've ever treated myself sometimes. Yet I struggled to forgive myself and give myself grace for mistakes that put me in situations that exposed me to a low quality life, So this is something I'm still learning. When I find myself critiquing myself in a very unfairly and not so nice way, I remind myself that I'm only human. And I also look at myself as a friend because, like I said, I tend to treat other people better than I treat myself. So I have to look at myself as third person or as the next person and tell myself what I would tell a friend, and that helps. Now, number 4, from perfection to excellentism. Perfection is a mirage that steals our joy. Trenton introduces excellentism, the art of striving for progress, not flawless outcomes. Focus on growth, celebrate small wins, and let go of the paralysis that perfection creates. Now, as a perfectionist myself, I know how hard this is to do because everything that I do, including the goals that I'm pursuing, whenever I fall, I tend to want to change the strategy of how to approach my goal rather than telling myself that falling is part of the path I have to go through to get to my goal. And doing so, and by so I mean changing the strategy towards getting to my goal, tends to keep me stagnant because with every change that I make, there's gonna be failures, there's gonna be stumbling blocks and all the things that I could think of that feel like resistance. And I had to learn to accept the imperfections and tell myself I'm gonna do this very same thing over and over again. And I know there's a saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, but honestly sometimes you have to do some things over and over again until you see the results you're going for. And that's exactly what I had to teach myself, not to keep changing paths, routes, strategies just to get to where I want to, because it will keep me stagnant. It will keep me at stage 1 if I feel like I haven't put enough effort in this one thing and I'm already implementing changes that could potentially mean that I am creating a whole new system altogether. So excellentism, whether it is a real word or a word that Trenton made up, I think it works for me. Number 5, the fifth thing that I took away from this book is reframing challenges as lessons. Setbacks don't define you, they refine you. Instead of why me, ask what does this teach me? Changing the narrative helps shift pain into purpose and gives you the power to move forward. Once again, going back to what I said about excellentism, this also applies for reframing challenges as lessons. Sometimes we over spiritualize things in life, and I'm not downplaying spiritualism because we are spiritual beings and everything is spiritual, no matter how small, but also without over spiritualizing everything to a point of paralysis. I need to be accountable and look at the current situation that I'm in and ask myself what it's teaching me, why I'm going through this, and what I could potentially learn from this. And by why I'm going through this, I don't mean why me. I mean, why could I be possibly going through this? Like, what could this be potentially teaching me? What could I learn from this? How can I come out on the other side of the tunnel stronger? Basically looking at every stumbling block as an opportunity of growth, right? And the next thing, the sixth thing that I learned or took away from this book is non-attachment and emotional distance. Now, Trenton teaches that attachment isn't apathy, it's healthy flexibility. Name emotions, label them. Anxiety is visiting. Instead of, I am anxious, create space between you and what you feel, and suddenly the weight is lighter. Now, anyone who knows me knows how emotional I am. I, at some point, used to feel ashamed of my emotions because I feel and tend to show my emotions more than a normal person, and that's in inverted commas, would. And I'm saying that because it has always been pointed out to me how emotional I get and how sensitive, in inverted commas, I am. And I've always associated the word sensitive with negativity. But now I embrace it. And instead of seeing my emotions as a weakness, I see them as strength. And also, instead of identifying myself with the emotions, especially the negative ones, I can now step back as if I'm stepping out of my body and look at myself and the emotion as two different entities. And by doing that, it has helped me to not think of myself as an anxious person, or as a depressed person, or as a sad person, or as a lonely person, but I can accept and appreciate that I do feel depressed sometimes, or depression is visiting, and I do feel anxious sometimes, and I do feel lonely sometimes, and I do feel sad sometimes, but I am not those emotions, and it's okay to feel those emotions. But then again, are the things that I can do and put in place to change those emotions for that period of time, or am I allowing myself to feel those emotions until I don't? So it goes back to the first thing I learned from the book, which is becoming aware, and also the second thing that I learned, which is acceptance is power, right? So accepting that I feel certain things, and also choosing to analyze whether I can control a certain situation or I can't. And if I can't, once again, there's nothing to worry about, just let it go. But if I can, again, there's nothing to worry about, then I should just control it if I need to. And the word control might have a negative connotation for most, but maybe think of controlling as managing, rather. Manage the things that are manageable in your life. And if there's things that are not manageable, then let them go. There's no need to push a wall and expect it to move. If you can accept that you cannot push a wall and the wall is stable and it cannot move, you let go of so many emotions that come with you feeling like a failure for not being able to push that wall and make it fall over. Now, the seventh thing I've learned or I've taken away from this book is mindful media and mental declutter. We are flooded all the time with news, with negativity. Trenton encourages curating what we consume, pruning what adds mental noise. And when thoughts get cluttered, do a brain dump, write everything down, clear the inbox in your head, and move on. Now, I didn't realize how important journaling is. I journal a lot myself, but I didn't realize how much that was helping me declutter. And at the time of releasing this video, I haven't been on many social media platforms for about a year now, and I haven't felt like I have a fear of missing out at all. In fact, I felt more freer. I had the chance to focus on my life, on myself, without comparing myself to my peers or other people around me, around the world, and feeling like I'm not exposed to certain resources that others are exposed to, and feeling like because of that I'm hindered from achieving what I believe I can achieve. Now, with all of that noise shut, I was able to just focus on me, focus on what I have, focus on what I am exposed to, and use all that mental capacity to look at what I have in front of me and use it for the good, and also to get me to where I want to be. Now, this is one thing I do a lot when I'm not feeling well. I retreat. I don't go ghost because I do tell my loved ones that I will be away, but that's one thing I think I'm good at. In fact, I believe I'm good at. I take time to myself, and in the past I used to feel guilty for doing this, and I'd come back earlier than I wanted to, but now I've reached a point where I realize that everyone around me has been doing what is best for them, and now it's my turn, and it's okay to take as much time as I need to declutter, pick myself up, and to keep going. So yes, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on TikTok, I'm not on X. In fact, I've been off Twitter when Twitter was still Twitter, and I left X at the same time that I left Facebook, which was more than 10 years ago, and it's been freeing, honestly. So I'm just on YouTube doing my nails, showing off my nails. In fact, I almost left YouTube, but thanks to Jade once again for reminding me of how much work I've put into my YouTube channel, and that has made me not give up, because YouTube is one place where I don't experience a lot of negativity. I don't compare myself a lot. In fact, I learn a lot from YouTube, and I express myself a lot. I mean, yes, there are one or two comments that are quite negative, and for the most part they're not even English. It's weird, but neither here nor there. Back to mindful media and mental declutter. I think that's one thing I can say out of everything that I've learned in this book. This is one thing I've mastered even before I read the book. Now, the second last thing I've learned from the book, or I've taken away from this book, is forgiveness and rewriting your story. Now, letting go includes forgiving yourself and others for imperfections, for hurt. It's not forgetting, it's choosing peace. That means releasing guilt, giving yourself mercy, and deciding your story isn't limited by yesterday. Now, I don't know if I can add any more to this without getting personal, but I used to feel guilty for remembering something that upset me in the past and then feeling upset all over again. I would always ask myself, have I really forgiven this person for doing this to me if I still feel angry about it? And now I can confidently say that I have. It's okay to feel those feelings all over again. And once again, revisiting the point about silencing the inner critic with compassion. It's separating the emotions from myself. Like I said, I'm a very emotional person. I feel deeply, and I wear my emotions on my sleeves. So when I think about moments that upset me, I believe that my mind cannot tell the difference between the memory and me actually going through it. So I feel that my brain treats my thoughts as if I'm going through that same thing again. And that's why when I find myself thinking about certain things that make me upset, that I've prayed about and forgiven the person about, I can always tell myself, this is not healthy. This is not a healthy habit. Don't go back there. Don't think about it. Acknowledge that yes, it made you upset, but don't go back there emotionally, because then what good does it do for you? And if I take this in a biblical sense, then that means whenever I think about it and I feel like I'm getting upset all over again, forgive 7 times 7 times. 7 times 70 if I'm quoting the Bible correctly. But every time I think about it and I get upset again, I have to choose to forgive and rewrite my story and not associate myself with that feeling or that experience. Now, the last thing I took away from this book, daily practice, not a one-time fix. Now, letting go isn't a one and done. It's a daily practice. Awareness, kindness, reframing, mindful detachment, they become habits that help us live freer, softer, and more pleasant lives. And just like I said about forgiving, it's the same thing. If I feel angry all over again about a certain thing, I will forgive again. If it means I have to forgive every day, I will pray about forgiveness every day. So it's a daily practice. Just because you were kind yesterday doesn't guarantee that you will be kind today. We all have bad days, but it's a choice that I have to make today to be kind. And some days it takes more effort to be kind than others because we don't wake up feeling the same way every day. So that's why we need to make the certain lifestyle we want for ourselves to be a daily practice. If I want to be kind, I need to choose to be kind every single day, no matter how I feel. If I want to reframe my life and I want mindful detachment, I have to choose to do that every single day. And some days, like I said, will require more effort than others. So that's the heart of the art of letting go. I resonate with how letting go isn't always about what we say, it's about what we gently release day after day. And that's what this series is really about. Polished stories, honest hearts, and learning how and when to let go. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about what I just shared? Did it remind you of something from your life? Did you learn something from what I just shared? You might not have read the book, The Art of Letting Go, but is there anything that you feel like what I took out of the book could resonate with you? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. If you'd rather not share publicly, you can always find my email address in the description box. Your email will stay completely confidential, and if you give me permission to share your story, I'll do it in the same first person style you've heard today. And if you've made it all the way to the end, leave an airplane emoji in the comments so I know you're a real one. Also, let me know what you think about today's nail set. I appreciate you for staying with me all the way through. Don't forget to hit the subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it means you won't miss the next story. Thank you so much for tuning in, beauty. Until next time, bye.